Alright, so in this video I'm going to quickly look at a new version of a Goblins deck that recently went 5-0 in a Legacy League. It looks pretty good. So Goblins decks have been around in Pauper and pretty much all formats for a long time, but a lot of the Goblins Pauper decks in recent months and years have seemed a little bit underwhelming, but a few players have put a fresh spin on Goblins, adding in experimental Synthesizer from Neon Dynasty to give it a bit of a boost, as well as Kuldotha Rebirth. So let's quickly take a look at the list. So most of the cards here are just the generic stuff you'll find in Goblins lists, but with a few spicy inclusions. So we're running 18 lands, 4 mountains, 4 Great Furnace. Okay, so our 1-drops, we have Foundry Street Denizen, 1 red for a 1/1. Whenever another red creature enters the battlefield under your control, Foundry Street Denizen gets +1/+0 until end of turn. We of course play Goblin Bushwhacker, one of the best goblins in the format, 1 red for a 1/1 with a kicker cost of 1. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. So this can really pump up the team and let you swing for a ton of damage kind of out of nowhere. Then also a full set of Goblin Sledder, 1 red for a 1/1. It has an activated ability which says sacrifice a goblin, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So that's pretty useful for when we have a massive board of goblins. We can just sack our goblins to pump some of our creatures up so that they survive combat damage, for example, or if our opponent leaves just 1 or 2 of our creatures unblocked, we can just sack all of our goblins and pump up the unblocked goblin for a ton of damage. Okay, then we have Margarita, which is exactly the same effect as Goblin Sledder. Then we also have Voldaren Epicure from Crimson Vow. It sees play in quite a few red Pauper decks. So in this deck, it's being used as well, despite not being a goblin. So it's 1 red for a 1/1. It says when it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you create a blood token. So blood tokens have pay 1, tap, discard a card, sacrifice the blood token, draw a card. So that's pretty useful for any type of red deck generally, because it lets us discard trash from our hands like lands and draw a fresh card. Okay, then there's also a full set of Mog War Marshal, 2 mana for a 1/1 with an echo cost of 2. So it says at the beginning of each upkeep, you have to pay 2 mana or sacrifice this. Then it also says when it enters the battlefield or dies, create a 1/1 red goblin token. So token generation. Then of course, in terms of burn, we have a full set of Lightning Bolt, 2 copies of Fire Blast. It's 6 mana for an instant. It deals 4 damage to any target, but you may sacrifice 2 mountains instead of paying its mana cost. Mono-red burn decks also play it, very good. Then of course we have the very powerful Goblin Grenade, 1 red for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast it, sacrifice a goblin, and it deals 5 damage to any target, which 5 damage for 1 mana is a very good rate. And then the 2 spiciest inclusions here are Kuldotha Rebirth and Experimental Synthesizer. So of course the Synthesizer, one of the dominant cards in the format at the moment, 1 red for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. It also says pay 3 mana, sacrifice it, create a 2/2 white samurai creature token with vigilance. So this just generates some card advantage. Then this player is using it in conjunction with Kuldotha Rebirth, 1 red mana for a sorcery. It says, as an additional cost to cast Kuldotha Rebirth, sacrifice an artifact. And it says, create 3 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. So 3 goblins for 1 mana is very, very good. So obviously this is great with the Synthesizer, because we can sack the Synthesizer to this to get the tokens. We can also sacrifice the blood tokens we get from Voldaren Epicure, or our Great Furnaces. So there you have it. That's the main deck. It's very simple, but clearly effective. Okay, I'll just quickly run down the sideboard. So we have 3 copies of Tormod's Crypt for some graveyard hate. Of course, it's a 0 mana artifact. With tap, sacrifice Tormod's Crypt. exile all cards in target player's graveyard. Okay, against other weenie decks, we have Electrickery, 1 red for an instant. It deals 1 damage to target creature you don't control, and it has an overload cost of 2. Then to deal with bigger threats, we have Flame Slash, 1 red for a sorcery, deals 4 damage to target creature. For dealing with more artifact-based strategies like Affinity, we have good old Gorilla Shaman, 1 red for a 1/1. It says pay X, X, and 1, destroy target non-creature artifact with casting cost equal to X. Okay, against blue decks, we have Red Elemental Blast, 1 red, counter a blue spell or destroy a blue permanent. Also 1 copy of the equipment, Sylvok Lifestaff, 1 mana, equip cost is 1, equipped creature gets +1/+0, and whenever equipped creature dies, you gain 3 life. Then against effects like Prismatic Strands, we have Flaring Pain, 2 mana for an instant, damage can't be prevented this turn, and then it also has Flashback for 1 red. And then this player is also including 1 copy of Makeshift Munitions, which I guess has a bit of synergy with all of the artifact and weenies we play, or the tokens we generate. So Makeshift Munitions, of course, 2 mana for an enchantment, pay 1, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Makeshift Munitions deals 1 damage to any target. Right, so there you have it. A very simple, clean Goblins deck with some experimental synthesizer shenanigans going on. It clearly did very well and looks pretty powerful, so I'm keen to take it for more testing. If you have thoughts for how the deck can be improved, let me know, or if you've built your own version of Goblins, which you think is doing pretty well. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.